Hey guys, Scrublord here, and welcome to another episode of Scrub Souls, a proper episode of Scrub Souls, as I will be scrubbing up the Ashes of Ariandel DLC with an SL120, still in NG. The reason I did this, of course, is because it'll allow me to go real slow and basically clear everything, check every nook and cranny, get every single item, practice parrying stuff, see what stuff is weak to, just kind of relax and work my way through the DLC with a character that's not going to be constantly dying. So let's go ahead and take a look. Now I went into the DLC with pretty heavy armor. I'm wearing the full Gundyr set here, and I'm using a Dragon Slayer axe, a Fire Lothric sword, and a Dark sword with no infusion at all. Thinking that I wanted the heavy armor because it was going to help me survive a lot, and I wanted the frost resistance that it would be likely to give me. Now, I kind of regret that. I think if I do this, well, I will do this another time, I'm probably going to want to stay light. There's a lot of rolling, and you'll be much better off if you've got a fast roll here, I think. That's just my suspicion here. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at these enemies. Of course, you can see they're fairly easy to backstab. I just did that one. And I'd also like to see parry here. Now, this guy isn't really cooperating, and I don't want to shield break him. That would be the proper thing to do here, is to go ahead and kick him. And as you can see, these guys are really working together. So I think the best thing to do is go ahead and take out the fire guys first, and then try to worry about these guys. But as you can see, he really doesn't give me a lot of opportunities to parry him. You can be real aggressive with the guys who are tossing javelins at you, and then when you do so, they will give you a fairly easy parry. These guys come in a few different variations, but the ones tossing javelins at you, you probably don't need to parry. You can just be real aggressive with them when you get up to them. These fire guys, just dodge behind them and kill them. They're only dangerous when you're standing in front of them. You probably know the drill. Fire on beasts and lightning on humanoids. When you hear this howl, it means that the wolves are coming in numbers. A pack of them will show up. Best way to deal with these is to kind of back up, let them jump at you, and that kind of drains their stamina and gives you a chance to take a few hits on them. Trees, not surprisingly, are weak to fire. And if you make your way up this hill, you're going to find the first weapon of the DLC, which is the throwing javelin. There's a little obligatory scrubbiness on my part. The javelin can be used as a melee weapon. There's this strong attack. Or the weapon art is, of course, the throw. Make sure you take out the little wolves before you face this big one to avoid any distractions, but basically this guy's kind of a combination between Sif from Dark Souls and the Royal Rat Authority from Dark Souls 2. I struggle with this guy and chew up a lot of my Estus trying to figure out how to go ahead and fight him properly. There you see I'm trying to do a Sif type thing, get underneath him, and there's the Royal Rat Authority attack. What I did realize as fighting this thing is that I got a big pop on his head, and it turns out that he's real weak if you can hit him in the head. Now watch this odd sequence here carefully and see what happens. He just disappears, like he had over half of his health, and one good shot to his head and he was done. That realization, of course, came in real handy against the boss of this area. When fighting against these giants, you're going to want to go ahead and use a lightning weapon and try to parry them. I have difficulties doing this, and I suspect I'm not alone in that when I'm up against big enemies like this with janky delayed swings, they have a tendency to get me to parry early, and I end up deadsies. So if you're struggling with this area, I died twice trying to get to this irritating tower, and it just wasn't a lot of fun, and I'm not looking forward to doing it at SO1. When you do make it to the tower, unfortunately you're going to find out that you can't sneak up on this guy. The guy higher up you can, but this guy you're going to want to drag down the stairs and get him outside, so it kind of requires that you clear out some of the enemies outside as well. As you can see, I've used up my Estus again, so I guess I have to get the items out of the tower and try to make it to the next bonfire, which fortunately isn't too far away. Fortunately, this guy is a lot easier than his buddies. Thinks he can fly. If you make your way to the top of the tower, you're going to find both a shield that offers healing and the Captain's Ashes, which allows you to purchase new things back at the Firelink, and down there we find an axe. Unfortunately, I'm out of Estus again. I got one returned to me, and there's another area that we want to attack here, but I'm going to have to go straight for the bonfire, and I'll go ahead and show you where that is. There's our axe. Now, I go ahead and run past this wolf. This is another one of the giant ones, thinking that I'll just come back to it later when I've got some Estus. But when I went back later, it was gone. I'm not sure if it fell off a cliff or what, but I didn't get a chance to kill it. If you follow this path down the hill, eventually you come to a little cave that's got a bonfire kind of hidden in here, and we'll go ahead and rest up to get some Estus and go back and find our bow. I originally couldn't figure out how to get up on this ledge, so I actually sat and cheesed everything with a bow. If you use fire arrows, you can take out these trees too. But the point is once I actually got up there to get the items, which turned out to be the bow, everything's going to be dead, as you can see, just because I cleared it from a lower level. So the way up to the bow is back near the tower. You're just going to head up this hill. There's going to be a bunch of trees here and stuff. Again, just kill them with a bow quite easily if you want, or just run down and get the item. I knew I had killed everything, so I really didn't bother with any of the trees. I just came down and got my items. And there's the bow. So back at the bonfire, we're going to go ahead and cross this bridge, which we want to cut down from the other side. There's another bonfire in the chapel. They're very close to each other. But we'll go ahead and touch up that bonfire and cut down this bridge. That way, if we die, we've got an easy way back down. I actually died twice trying to get down this damn tree, but fortunately there's a bonfire right at the bottom, so, you know, just go ahead and make your way down, and if you get knocked off, just do it again. If you hear someone talking in the background over this next area, that's my nephew and I were chatting, and I forgot that I couldn't remove his voice. I can only remove my voice, but it's just for this short area, and I turned down the volume so you might not even be able to hear it. But we'll take a look at some of the drops in here. If you follow a kind of long winding tunnel of ice, you'll eventually come to the sorcery Snap Freeze. And make sure you find this ladder. It's really, really long, but drum roll please. At the top you'll find a Titanite slab. Now, it didn't take me very long to beat this boss, but a lot of that's probably because I'm pretty over-leveled. I mean, NG and SL 120 is kind of ridiculous, but that was the whole purpose of making this character, was to make the DLC a little bit easier so I could play around with it. I originally went in with my Gundiers that I was wearing at the beginning and throughout much of the run, and I was just too heavy. I wasn't managing my stamina very well. I tried to use two different weapons, lightning on the Gravetender and then fire on his wolf, and ultimately settled on one weapon, an Uchi, which I would use the Carthus Rouge to put some extra bleed to, which works out pretty well. Here I'm just trying to bait in these wolves, get them to jump at you so you can punish, and then the real trick here, I think, is to try to take out the Gravetender as fast as possible before the wolf shows up. It seems like the best way to deal with this guy is to either guard break him with your weapon or maybe a kick, and wait until he jumps at you and then punish him. But the important part here is you want to stay aggressive because you want this guy gone before his wolf enters the fray. And right there, when he raises his sword like that, I believe he's calling the wolf. Although if you prevent him from doing so, the wolf will still enter. So here I'm just kind of desperately trying to get it gone because I realize the wolf is on the way. And there it looks as though the wolf ran over him. So as far as fighting this guy, same idea. Wait for the head, charges to the side. I'm backed up against something there. And when he does the swirly thing around his head, that's a sign to dodge. When he starts doing his frenzied attack here, I think he'll do it shortly. Oh, here we got a bite. Hit the head. Hit the head. He's going to do two of them here. Hit the head. So getting that aggregate damage on the head is really the key to get a visceral and do a lot of damage to this guy. That was a mistake. When he does that roar, you should go ahead and get close to him. And that was also a mistake. When he lowers his head and shoots out that icy breath, that's the time to get in. Here you see it. Now I'm able to do some damage to his head. I score a visceral. I'm kind of surprised by it. And go ahead and take him down just like that. So he didn't last very long, and that fight worked out pretty well. So anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check back to see part 2. I'm probably only going to be doing 2 parts, although I might separate the next part from the boss if it turns out too long.